I got to say, New Amsterdam Radio is brought to you part by Anchor FM. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? You see, when I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? And most importantly, I don't want to deal with cables and wires and all those things. You see, the answer to every single one of these questions is pretty simple. Anchor. Anchor is the one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And you can use your phone, which is pretty awesome. Now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. So if you ever wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. It is I, the Mayor, Flobo Boys, and thank you so much for checking out this episode and all the other episodes of New Amsterdam Radio. And I know I say that every week, but I truly do mean it. There was a long time when this show had 0 downloads, but I still pretended it as if I had an audience, but now I actually do. And so I thank you for that, making a huge positive for 2020 for me. My guest this week is Rawle Lewis. You may know him from the classic film Cool Runnings, but our talk really wasn't about that. But before I get into my talk with him, I have a little bit of a story. You see, getting Rawle on my show has been a get. It's been something that I've been hoping for a long time. I was afraid to ask the guy, even though we're kind of cool, you know. The reason being is this: when I got into the swing of things as a comedian, I hit a really bad plateau about 2 years in the game, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. I wasn't sure if I was going to quit. And I remember reaching out to Rawle just as a shot in the dark, like the comedy gods. If you could hear my prayers, help me out. And not only did he answer my prayers, he asked for my phone number, and I called him, and we chatted for about a good half an hour about the things I'm doing right, the things I can work on, the things I can improve on. And it must have been just a phone call to him, but it changed my perspective on things, because here was somebody who didn't have to do all that, and he did. So I'm forever grateful for it. It led me to continue on my comedy career. So I was more than happy, more than honored when he agreed to do New Amsterdam Radio. He has a show of his own. It's called Strop, Drop, and Roll, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail on our interview. So enough of my ramblings about stories about the game. It's now time for my interview with Rawle Lewis. Welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creative. It is me, your mayor, Flobo Boys, and I'm in the mayor's office because that's where I hang out. But the man has so many slashes, we're going to get to all of them. But the one thing I want to say off the bat is that he makes me laugh all the time. Give it up for Mr. Rawle Lewis, man. How you doing, sir?
What's up? How you living, man?
I'm good. I'm good, and I'm better get to hang out with you. Because I know, I always go in passing. We always, I will see you at a show. You'll see me at a show, I think, before pandemic, which sounds like 20 years ago.
I know. It's like a whole nother life then, right?
I know, right? Before the storm. You were at a house party, like a house party comedy show with a mutual friend.
Oh, that's
Stephen
right.
Briggs. Yeah, because I didn't know Stephen. Yeah. I knew David Christopher, punk rock, who knew Stephen. He's like, oh, my friend's a comic, come to the show. I'm like, all right, I tell jokes. And it was a crazy venue, but it was cool to see you again after how.
But you didn't perform that night, but you came and hung out. That was kind of cool, because most people, because most comedians don't do that. They don't hang out if they're not performing.
Yeah, and this is going to sound like an old soul moment, but you see these old tapes, like the history of the improv or the history of the Comedy Store, and people are like, yo, after we performed, we hung out and talked. But comics now are like, yo, we got 5 open mics. I'm busy. My 5 open mics.
Yeah.
Now I'm out. So
I think that, and also we're not as socially intelligent like they were back then. I think astute people were very socially. Like comedy was like a rare thing. You in rarefied air if you were hanging out with. So it's like we all did this crazy thing, so people bonded more. But now there's so many comics. They're like, it's almost like some people almost get competitive sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
or everyone's in their little group. I'm alternative comedy, or I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
shock comedy,
Whatever that is, don't brand it
Yeah.
right. Do you consider yourself a comedian first, or are you an actor slash or a comedian
So
slash?
man, it's so weird because I was just talking about this with my friend. My other friend is a because I do acting and writing and they all kind of happen simultaneously. I kind of feel of myself as it's kind of like if I was a musician, I'm an artist. I'm a musician first. I'm an artist, and then I want to do. You know how like musicians they want to try a different genre.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they want to let me see what it's like to sing a country song. I'm kind of like that in like I love acting, but when I act too much, I miss comedy because comedy is very raw and very immediate response. I miss that. And then when I do too much comedy, I miss. It's just in acting, you reach way more people.
Yeah.
And it's more of a collaborative. Sometimes I get bored with just it being me.
Okay, that's fair.
And so I like acting because it's not just all on you if it fails.
Right. I tried. So you're like almost like Diplo, like 8 different bands and groups, but it's the same dude. Silk Cities, like Major Lazer. Like, wait a minute, it's the same dude. That's the way to look at it too, because I feel like it's very rare you see people just doing comedy, and I used to be resentful of that. I used to be resentful of the small subsection here in Los Angeles, especially of say pure actors who get signed or get a manager and go take a comedy class. And I felt like I was competing with them because I felt like as a comedian, I'm not saying I'm the best. I want to get better at it, but at least I thought that I was a comedian first, quote unquote. But then you have someone saying I'm moonlighting as a comic and I do this. I used to be like, pick a side.
Yeah,
how that would be. But.
Well, it's true. I get the frustration because there's some people that just people who love comedy like get annoyed, which I love comedy, so I get annoyed when people are just, well, my manager said I should do comedy. And it's like I get pissed. It's like, come on, man, it's not a gimmick,
right?
You know what I mean? There's enough of us already trying to get stage time. We don't want to get clogged up by somebody who's like a, weekend comic,
right?
You know what I mean? Or just hobbies, just trying out a hobby. Or trying to get on a sitcom. It's like those people annoy me. But that being said, I admire people who have like varied interests, because a lot of times you get forced into like, if you do comedy, it takes a lot of different skill sets in order to do comedy, like your ability, public speaking, humor, timing, jokes, all that's why comedy fits into so many other avenues. You can become an actor, writer, because you're doing all those things simultaneously when you do comedy.
That's a good point. I heard that comedians who become actors tend to get it differently. I won't say quicker or better, but they did get it differently than those who are say strictly classically trained or what have you.
Yeah. Especially comedy, we understand timing. We've sort of strengthened that muscle. We have a proclivity to try to get laughs.
Proclivity. That is something I don't hear every day. I'm impressed. Proclivity. Sometimes I do these shows, I do podcasts, and like a SAT word would slip out. You're like, where did that come from? Like, I don't usually say postulate, but it just came out in this discussion.
Yeah, that's true. That happens to me. That's happened to me a lot because like different people inspire different conversations, and I just used magnanimous the other day, and I was like, well, why am I using this word?
I like it, but still.
But I'm always searching for the word to really paint the picture.
Yeah.
And so something will pop out like that you don't even remember that was in your repertoire.
Deep in the archives, like grades. But as a comedian, man, one of the cool things I like about your journey is that you were able to perform globally. Like, not to make this question about me, but I was had my first or my second international day. I did Canada once. I was going to be in Japan in 2000.
Oh, nice.
In April, of this year. Of course, that didn't happen with the pandemic. But the roadmap was like, I remember hitting you up at that same party, going like, "Yo, how'd you do the international thing? How's that work? Like, I mean, how's it work as far as the feeling? You practice a craft, you know what kills in Los Angeles, but then someone books you in say Europe or Germany or
Copenhagen."
Copenhagen, Denmark, perfectly good example. Going, well, they speak English, they understand the language, but will they get me? Will they get Rawle?
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of, well, okay, let me just say, when I did Cool Runnings, that movie, I always kind of go for, my mindset is always kind of like, the world is kind of smaller than we think. Because I have friends from because I live in Los Angeles and I live in near the beach and it's a lot of tourists. So I realize that from meeting a lot of tourists, even at a young age, that you realize that everybody kind of has this, gets the whole American thing. It's so vast. It's all over the world. Like our culture is the most marketable thing about us. And so I kind of feel like that was our advantage. And I also kind of feel like the world's getting smaller. Like people in Denmark or Germany know about Rodney King.
Oh,
It's
wow.
it's do you know what I mean? It's kind of like America. I feel like America, we're like the seniors in high school. You know how like in high school everybody knew what the popular seniors were doing, but they didn't know you.
Right,
So
right.
that's
Yeah,
how those
yeah.
that's how those
So I've
countries are.
heard. I wasn't quite there yet.
No, I would, but you like when a senior recognizes you. Hey, you're in the chess club, right? You're like, yeah, and you play football. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's how it is. I kind of feel like so I always felt like when I did Cool Runs, I would go all different parts of the world and people knew that movie. I was like, damn, that's amazing. But I also liked the fact that it was like a bigger pool to draw from.
True.
So whenever I do comedy, I kind of think of it's just kind of what happened. I think of jokes my comedy is based on human behavior more so than just political thing or just trend oriented things. Like everybody, if you do a joke about a cheap friend, that guy is all over the world, man. That guy is
Right.
in Sweden. You could do that joke in Sweden and people be like, yeah, that's like Johan.
Your hands like, what? I said the
But
crown was on
everybody,
me, y'all.
yeah, exactly. But everybody gets those concepts of just basic human behavior. And you could be in Zimbabwe. A bushman is like, yeah, like my man, like, you know what I
Just
mean?
point them
Like,
out. People
yeah,
getting like lit up all across the world.
exactly. Because we all do the same. We're all doing the same things, and we think we're so different. And that's what I love about. I mean, there's nuances, but it's basically we're kind of all repeating the same behaviors.
Yeah, and logically, I guess, or from the travel side, I mean, what goes through your mind there? Being like, yo, these people booked me for this show halfway across the
Hmm.
world. Like, do you pack differently? Do you travel differently? Do you like record it? Or what's the creative process when you fly out there, as far as being the performer that's been booked?
Um, well, what do you mean? Like, well, how do I prepare for the? I
Yeah, how
kind
do
of.
you prepare? Like, how do you like take it all in, man? Like, are you in this town to visit and then your daytime
Yes.
down? Like, what's the schedule like? Yeah.
I know for one thing, I always end up not making money at those gigs. Here's why: because I'm using comedy I'm using that as an excuse to get to see. Like, when else would I have been in Copenhagen?
True.
So when I go there, I get paid, and I go, "Oh, great, free." You know how like when you're in gambling and if you win money right off the bat, you go, "Oh, well, I'm gambling with their money." You kind
Yeah.
of think like that.
Yeah.
I kind of do like that. Well, this is a free vacation, and I start going around the town and
Yeah.
spending the money that I made
Yeah. No, I hear you.
using that opportunity. So sometimes, like, there's been times when I've come home, I'm broken even, but I figured, well, I got a free trip to Europe, and I kind of got a little carried away.
And that's experience. Well, I haven't done that quite with the comedy side, but like in 2018, for those who listen to New York City radio, I tell the story all the time. But I got booked to do a DJ a wedding in Italy, and that was like there was no like. And I don't say Italy was a bad place, but it was never on my mind as a place to visit. It was just kind of like there, and so I went for it, and I think I lost money on it. It's all said and done. Like, I was like in the hole on the 6th day. I sat the last 2 days in my hotel room, like I can't even go outside. But it was cool because I got so many stories from it, and being like, wow, I've been validated in a weird way that people have paid to DJ their wedding. I played Uptown Funk across the world because I was able to do so.
So you know how it is. You know how it is. Like when American culture is just so prevalent that they know your music, they know everything about us. So I think for us as a comedians, it's like we're cheating in a way. We kind of could say, we kind of could have a short speak, and they know our references, whereas we don't know all of their references. I try my hardest here's one of the ways I prepare. I try my hardest when I go into town. I go to a coffee shop and I start asking people questions about what's your rival town, what's your sports teams, and blah blah blah. Because I realize that it's very valuable when you mention something about them that's very specific. They go, they're like, whoa! They really appreciate it. And they also feel like, and also most of us as Americans, we don't really know shit about them. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We just kind of like, I've been in the comedy clubs in Amsterdam and saw like an American comic doing not very farm jokes. And I was like, why would you be doing that here? Like, and then he goes, and one of his things was, you guys celebrate Thanksgiving? I'm like, why? You mean where the Pilgrims came to America? Yeah, why would they be celebrating that? I'm like, and
just for clarification purposes, Knott's Berry Farm is a theme park here in Southern California.
Yes, very geographical to this area.
Yeah,
and he's doing it in Europe, in the Dutch.
And he killed, bro. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but he was wondering why he wasn't doing well, and I was like,
yeah,
you know, you're not sensitive to. You're not really culturally astute, you know. I see that with white comics when they start telling a lot of jokes. Not all of them, obviously, but I'm just being like, some people talking about drunk jokes. You ever get so drunk that you do this? And I was glazed over because I don't really drink, because I kind of lose out in those experiences. And after the 10th joke, I'm like, wow, this guy's an alcoholic.
Yeah, did you really lose out there, Rawle? I hear you. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, I lose out. I miss out. I'm sort of not, I can't really relate, you know, to that level of booze.
Yeah, that's fair enough, man. Like that, it's interesting because I know a lot of us who are creative, even outside of comedy, there's always like the middle step. Like before you become world famous, the middle step for us comics going on the road, right? There's like, if you're an artist getting a painting sold, and we kind of get in our own heads of what's considered that level. Like, are you good enough? Right. And you're saying that these Americans are in the same club as you are, but your journeys are different because you can see that you did the research where your colleague did not.
Yeah, and I think people appreciate when it's kind of like any relationship, like a woman, if you notice that she got her hair done, or I feel like it's that with the audience, if you notice things about, if you show up in their town and you mention things like, oh, I noticed you had this, people appreciate you appreciating them.
Yeah.
You know?
This is something that I kind of stumbled across too. I was in Toronto. I was in my day job. My day job had a business conference, and so I totally moonlighted like Batman, right? You know, and I did not a joke, but I told my story about being patted down at the border. And the reason why I got pat down in Toronto is that no one at the security in Toronto believed that an American would visit Toronto for the first time so old. They're like, people come here all the time, they're younger kids. But I was like 32 at the time, so they patted me down. And true to Canadian, like this is not even an embellishment. True to Canadian culture, the female who patted me down was apologizing. She's like, "Oh, sorry, I have to do it, sorry." And I thought that was the most funniest shit ever. But it's funny when the crowd was like, "Yeah, we do that. Yeah, right." You know,
right. To
your point, and like to localize what you do to your audience is just invaluable. So,
and you're like a mirror sometimes. They sometimes don't even realize the things, they don't see themselves from the outside looking in. So when you say stuff to them, they go, "Oh yeah, we do that. That's crazy."
Yeah.
And I think they appreciate it.
They do. Yeah. That's deep, Rawle. That's deep. You had mentioned that you were in Cool Runnings. Real quick, I'm not trying to make it a Cool Running show, but do you watch that movie regularly? Is it kind of like so far back you can't? Like, what is, like, seeing myself in like a YouTube video, I'm like, oh God, like my face. Like, how do you do that being in a movie that's beloved by people?
I mean, well, I have it on a loop in my bedroom, just for the ladies.
On the ceiling? Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, you see what you're working with? No.
Slow motion.
Slow that freeze frame. No, well, for me, it was so long ago. I was really young, so I kind of feel like I'm constantly reminded of that movie because people love it so much, and I feel like that's like a good thing to be part of. I'm kind of always awestruck, really. But it's years later, I'm still kind of like, really? when people recognize me, when people say, especially when I go to those other countries, like when I'm always walking down the street in Luxembourg, like just it's such a weird thing to say anyway. Like I would never thought I would end up being in Luxembourg when I'm walking down the street. People stop me. I was like, oh, I think it's Rasta Rocket, they call it over there.
Yeah.
People
that's the name. That's the name in Luxembourg for Cool Runnings.
It's the French name. The people, the French speaker, they go Rasta Rocket. I thought
they were offensive. I don't know how to take this.
That's how I was. I was like, is that the N word in France?
Exactly.
The people like beep beep Rasta Rocket, and I was like, you too, buddy. You know,
right? That is cool, man.
And that was it's kind of like it just trips me out. It always trips me out because I'm like, man, I would never have thought like years later that people would still be into that movie so much. So, and I also feel honored to be part of that because how many of those do you get in your life? You know,
true.
Where hopefully I get more, but you know what I mean? It's like,
I mean, that's kind of not the goal, but like one of the cool things about being creative is that you potentially can make something that resonates with generations, right? Which sounds very like poetic, but you know what I'm saying? Like Harry Potter fans are having kids who are Harry Potter fans, and that was something that was created when I was alive and further on, and you too. So I wish for that. I wish for that. Like, hey, you're the guy from The Thing.
And some actors are annoyed by that, but I don't think I have so much of it that it's like I may get recognized once a day. I mean, it depends on how much I'm outside, but and I think it's just enough to be tolerable. I think I saw Cuba Gooding. I remember I was talking to Cuba Gooding Jr. one time, and people were like driving by, and this is not that long ago. And however old that movie was, the people were driving by, beep beep, show me the money, and I was like, ugh. Yeah. Like it happened so many times that I was like, and he was cool with it, but I thought, that seems kind of annoying.
Wait, what did he do? Did he like wave? Did he smile? Did he say it back? Like
he just kind of was like he kind of like was talking to me, and he was engaged in talking to me, and people were going by and showed me the money, and he just stayed with me.
Okay.
Like sometimes he'd be like, "All right, man, good to see you," and then came back but he didn't seem bothered by it at all, and I was getting bothered by it, and it's not even me, you know. I was kind of like, "Come on, man, that's rude."
Well, the last time I won't say starstruck. The last time I was like, I gotta tell this person I'm a fan of him, even though he doesn't know who I am. Allow me to name drop. I went to the roast of Bruce Willis as a seat filler. So I was in the back when he came out in the motorcycle and had the after party, and there was Lil Rel, which Lil Rel is like, not to say he's not a huge comedian, but you could compare like Kevin Hart or like Sebastian Maniscalco. There's on top of mind as far as that. And I saw him and I was like, yo, you the dude from Uncle Drew. That's the first thing I said to him. And he's like, yo, man, thank you, appreciate it. People used to say get out, but thank you for the shout out. And it's crazy how you feel these characters are part of your life, even though you have not met them. That you go, hey, you're the guy from That Thing. You know, it's amazing.
Because they spend so much time in your living room, and you kind of feel like, I know that person. And you really don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. Some people will be like, hey, I grew up on you. I remember I was eating froyo the other day, and somebody went by, and they're like, yo, I grew up on you. Yeah. Yeah, because I keep it gangster with my froyo.
You sit there go like, yo, thanks, player. Like, how do you, the same thing, kind of like a thanks. Do you do pictures? You do autographs? Is that weird?
No one does. I don't get the autograph thing. No one does autograph anymore. They just want a picture. Pictures, I don't have a problem with. But I feel like people shouldn't have your signature. Okay. Like a stranger. Enough.
Yeah.
It seems weird in a time now, in this technological forgery and all this kind of.
Fair enough. You don't have a celebrity signature? You don't have like a R with the stars around it?
No, I don't think I'm big enough. R. I used to try to do an R with a smiley face, and then it just looked like I just was illiterate.
just put an X here. We'll just tell people.
I was like, you sign it.
I know, right? I'll agree to it. Well, what's funny about the way we reconnected is I stumbled across your new podcast on Facebook because algorithms, right? Stop, drop, and roll, because it's a pun. Why not? I was surprised because let's be real, a lot of comedians have podcasts in very similar categories. Either it's a funny look of the news, or it's kind of like, let's talk about mental health, not in a bad way, but but your show it's really, really different. You could just like tell me about the reason that Slap, Drop, and Roll was your first podcast and how that show has affected like your perspective. Yeah,
I think it's all the culmination of the pandemic and all this things that are going on and our inability to really communicate, and also my need to reinvent myself or to still express myself, even though I haven't been out there doing comedy.
Yeah.
And I think my thing is that I didn't want to just do a jokey thing. I mean, even though like if humor comes out naturally, it comes out, but I kind of feel like I wanted to do something about. I feel like I wanted to deal with real people, for one thing, like people from all walks of life. I feel like during my travels, I've met so many different people that are fascinating. They may be a chef or like a Norwegian fisherman, or just my friend who lives in Marseille. She's from Harlem, moved to Marseille, and she's like a college professor. Like I was like, wow,
that's like a fictional character life story. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but all these people are, and sometimes like I have like I know homeless people. So I feel like I'm always been into communicating with people, and I feel like what I've learned is that they all have some sort of wisdom or life experience to Sorry,
I cut you off there. I was trying to bring up your description. I thought it was pretty cool the way you said it. This is the actual official description of Stop, Drop, and Roll. Oh. Who are we really? I mean, who are we beyond the labels of black, white, fat, thin, young, old, rich, poor? What is our story beyond that? I believe everyone has got a bit of wisdom in them. Has that been true in your experience?
Yes, that's exactly how I feel. And I wanted to do something that was not just comedians, or not just part of my group, because I think we all get stuck in our bubbles. And one of the reasons what I'm trying to do with this podcast, the next one is coming out. I'm going to release it today, I think, and I'm talking to the LAPD. To
like a cop or like a PR person, like what?
No, two cops from the LAPD force, and we talk about a lot the George Floyd police brutality, but they're part of police outreach program. They're trying to improve they're actual cops. They're not like sitting behind a desk, but they're part of they're trying to improve the image of cops and citizens, because there is kind of a combative relationship there.
That's kind of an understatement, but yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So but I'm them, and I have I've recorded a few of them, and I got like a chef in Amsterdam, like who's just this guy who's like all about love through food. I don't know. It's just right now. I'll see how it goes. I just kind of like that exact description. I feel like we're so caught up into living out our labels that we're not really seeing, like we're really more than that. We're bigger than that, than just like you're an anomaly.
Oh, thanks, man. I don't know. I appreciate that.
You're like a mayor, run for mayor. You're just like, you're not just a comedian.
I also came in last place. Well, that's why I don't talk about that.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, man.
Man. Yeah, I got so jaded. I got instantly jaded when it was all said and done. I was like, wow, this is politics on a small scale. So for those who don't know, I felt so inclined, so inspired by actually one of your bits, if you want to put us full circle. So Rawle had this bit about living in Santa Monica, being a black person. Now, he would when he's jogging, he would exaggerate, holding his temperature and pulse and stuff to make sure he looks safe and non-threatening. And I was like, you know what? I do that here in Palms. This is the part of town I live in. I'm going to run as a business representative. I had the t-shirts made. I had the flyers given out. It was like the innocent lamb walking to the slaughterhouse being like, politics. Because I saw everything. I saw special interest groups. I saw slates, which are basically unofficial tickets so you can pool together resources. I saw backhand deals. Came in last place. Of course, I'm bitter as hell. And for some reason, all my friends have given me the hero's welcome, though. Oh, you tried. Young, black, intelligent. You should be proud of yourself. But I'm just so mad that I lost. Not because the citizens wanted something better. It's because I got squeezed out. So I've just been so mad about that ever since. But no, I ran for mayor or business representative in Palms last year.
I mean, but you're learning the intricacies of politricks, as we say in Ireland. Pilotricks.
Right. Right.
So you know that you've learned that it's more than just who's it's about marketing and publicity and getting in with the groups and shaking hands and kissing babies. And
I had no idea.
yeah, but I actually applaud. We all applaud your effort, especially like the comedians. We comedians, we think that all we're good for is waking up at noon and writing a couple of dick jokes and then
yeah, a hard day's work.
Yeah, ooh, I'm exhausted.
Right.
Drink a couple of beers or whatever you do.
This time the punchline is the dick, and that'll work backwards. No, I hear you, dude. I hear you. And I guess it's a medal. Like I don't know if you remember the Game of Life back in the day, the actual board game. You have a little title like "Runs for Mayor, $1,000" or whatever. So I felt like I got one of those, but I don't know if I'll ever do it again. But it was.
Well, how many people did you run against?
This is even more tragic. So I ran against 2 other people. So 3 of us were in the race, and the top 2 got in. So I came dead last.
So you came third. You didn't really come last.
I came third in a 3-man race with 2 spots. That's pretty last. That is pretty last.
You would have got a bronze in the Olympics.
I know. And like Jerry Seinfeld says, bronze is people would appreciate it. The silver is the one you get mad about. But yeah, I would love to do it. I don't know if I'll do it again. But it's funny you mentioned talking to the cops. I know 2020 has been nuts with that. Like I'm the kind of person that, and I'm being completely honest with myself, keep it 100 for a beat though. Like I always see the injustices that people of color and even cops have received, but I'm never enough to like protest about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that's messed up. All right, what's on Twitter? And I felt this year more than any that I felt more active than before. Did I march? No. But my neighborhood had like a bike ride, and I jogged nearby, like I'm black too on the side.
It's very bougie.
Very bougie. You know, they had a bike ride. It's West LA, man. I voted for the first time ever.
Really?
Second time, kind of my own election, but like a real was the first time ever because of the climate and all that. I mean, how's that affected you? Did it affect you at all? As far as a person, a man of color, comedian third, like how did it really come to a head for you this year?
I mean, I think it affected the whole world. I think it was hard to be unscathed by all the stuff that was going on. I think the fact that we were all set on pause, so we had no choice but to observe, pay attention to things that we normally pay attention in the background. But it's in the periphery. We kind of like, that's messed up. But we want to live our lives. We want to not be bothered because we want to. But I think we had no choice in this. So I think, a lot of people were upset by it. I've kind of inspired because I feel like you can't really solve a problem until you look at it. And I feel like we're now forced to look at the problem. So now the talks are there. And now we can now pretend like, people go Black Lives Matters. I feel like not everyone, but I feel like some people through semantics, they go, oh, hey, all lives matter. But I think that's just a way to I don't want to deal with that right now. Right. Or I don't want to have to admit that because now I get sucked into it. You have to now do something. Right. And I think if I can somehow duck like the Matrix, duck it for a little. Hey, like I've never seen anyone move that fast.
I don't want to get involved.
Yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of those things are just really I know things are happening, but for white people or other groups that are like, I know you're going through a hard time, but I can't really deal with that right now. I can't. So I'll pretend it doesn't happen. But now there's no more pretending, so we kind of have to talk. And I think for me, I was kind of, I hate to say it, I was a little more positive about it because I feel like, oh, wow, now that we're all at the table, it's not just some of the people, not just black people at the table or just people of color at the table trying to solve it. It's like we realize we all have to solve it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, to me, it's cool. But for me, comedy wise, though, it's really kind of like, I'm going through my old set and I was like, this stuff is not interesting to me anymore. I have to deal with what's happening now. So I feel like it's going to put my comedy on pause a little bit as far as having to write new stuff or write updated material, because I've seen some of these comedy shows and they're talking about Jamba Juice and stuff as if nothing has happened.
Right. It's lots to unpack there what you said, man, because I'm like you. My stuff was never political. The only political jokes I had was that I grew up in a 2-party household. My dad's conservative, my mom's liberal, and that has its own
Right.
kind of like built-in funny thing, bounces around the issue. But much like how Fallon had to deal with on tonight's show, like you can say I don't do politics, but politics threw a brick through your window and jumped in the living room and was like, "What now, player?" And so coming with an idea to deal with that. But I have to ask you then: do you think this time is different, or do you think there is still an opening for the status quo to swing back to the way it was?
You mean the things to go back to the old normal?
Yeah, I don't want to get like that guy, but like George Floyd was one man who started a revolution. For me personally, the murder that affected me the most was Philando Castile because he owned the firearm legally, right? But before that, it felt like there was always that shock. A couple days go by, there is a most unflattering picture, thugged out picture of the said victim. We all go, oh, that's the reason why, and it kind of dies out, and we just go back to a norm. Now, with the pandemic, I did feel like George Floyd actually had a swell of support that went global. And so I would say it moved the needle more than ever before. But is there still a space for it to go back, for us to forget? We don't see hashtag say her name on Instagram anymore as much as we used to. I fear, or my question is, do you think that's a possibility?
Yes, I mean, I think everything's a possibility. As far as going back to once we get comfortable again, we can go back. But I also think that, I mean, not to use that cliche, but the genie's out of the bottle. Like I feel like that toothpaste is just so far out of the tube now that it's kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like you almost have to admittedly be an asshole to go, oh, I don't care. You know,
right?
And no one wants to be. Most people don't want to be exposed of being that much of an asshole. But and I think that the ones who don't care will definitely. There's no longer. I think sitting on the fence is harder to do. Would be harder to do now. Right. I think you either have to be I don't give a shit or let's try to solve this. And I just feel like 2020, though, it's hard that you're saying that you don't no longer see those hashtags. But I feel like 2020 has been like you're a DJ. It's like remix,
right?
Like all the freaking drama.
Yeah.
Let's do all the our worst human atrocities, all compiled. Like all the stuff we're dealing with is just flashing before our eyes this whole year, so we were like, it's hard to keep up. I think it's going to take us a while to settle in and go, whoa, like. But I think it's really exposed a lot of changes need to be made, not just even with racial or George Floyd or anything, but a lot of like how we're dealing with finances or so many different things are coming up. You know, because we were doling out money to like, yeah, you know what, let's give people, $600 a week. And then people are now thinking, well, wait a minute, we got money. Why we got homeless? Why we got, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that you can't roll back and say, well, we don't. The only reasons we're not fixing some of these problems is that we don't care to, or it's just not high on our list of giving a shit, you know?
Right. And that hopefully will come to light, you know.
Women's issues are like still high on the on the charts. You know, it still hits
the charts, the hits.
Still on the top 10.
The Billboard, social cause Billboard. Yeah, but I agree with you. Yeah, I do think our women's rights need to be addressed in this country. 2021 is, I guess, at the time of this recording, like 6 weeks away. Did you have any goals, or is it kind of like, I gotta survive this first? Like, what's next for Rawle D?
I don't know. You know what I like is that I don't know. I mean, a lot of times I would have these specific plans, and I mean, at the beginning of this year, I had all kinds of 2020 vision. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna sell my sitcom. All this crap.
Right. Same boat.
But that went out the window. I'm like, but I kind of part of me feels good about it because these last few weeks I'm focusing on, like kind of like what I'm saying in the podcast. Like, who am I really? Who do I want to be? Do I want to be famous because I think that's cool? Right. Do I want to just do my art? Do I want to but do I get married because that's what you do, or do I want to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just want to find that. I just want to be me, authentically be me, and not without the pressures of society. Like, who do I want to be, and what do I want to do next? And I'm honestly figuring that out, and it's starting to feel good. The podcast was just kind of one of those things where I go, I want to express myself this way, and it's one of the first things that I'm not worried about failing at. I just feel like, it'll be what it'll be. Yeah. And the people that will come to the podcast will happen organically and naturally. So I'm trying to sort of increase my psychological and spiritual health. And then I feel like that will be the thing that propel me into my better artistic expression.
That is way deeper than I thought. I was thinking I'm going to to Germany. Like, I had no idea. I mean, it's a good thing too. That's what's up. Because
I want to sleep with blondes.
Yeah. 2021 vision board is all just like blonde.
Never had a Jamaican agent.
Yo, what's making it happen? No, I'm just kidding. No, I think you're absolutely right, because it's one of those things where it is a bit of review. And for me personally, in 2020, the goal was to do the shows and go on the road. I had the show in Japan, the show in Alaska, and I was like, all right, comedy, I'm doubled down, I'm focusing. But when everything shut down, over time, my house became a studio. And it's still very piecemeal. If you're watching the video version, I'm in my bedroom. That's actually my actual dresser is there. So much that I get dressed on the other side of my bedroom because I'm afraid my webcam will pick it up. But these are things I did small by small.
That could sell too, by the way.
My OnlyFans? I have negative followers. How's that possible? But the thing is like I didn't know I was a broadcaster, but knowing that the time I have at home and there's no comedy clubs, at least at first, kind of opened this whole door of things I can do. And New Amsterdam Radio, which like almost like your podcast, was kind of a joke. I had it on my phone. I did episodes, and I didn't tell anybody I had it, didn't even promote it until episode 42, when like a friend from high school was like, "Can I be on your show?" And I was like, "Why?" and that's like we're on episode 81, 82 now, and that just grew because I started getting more confident in doing it. So in a lot of ways, 2020 has been great, but 2021, I would love to keep the momentum going. That's why I always ask other creatives if you think that far ahead, or it's kind of like, this is the longest year ever, bro. Don't ask me that question.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like not. Do you know is it Kyle Cease? You ever see that guy? He used to be a comedian, and now he's like a.
I think I know of him. I haven't met him.
Now he's like a life coach or something like that. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I realized, he was talking about just the doing things and not knowing where it's going to lead. It's like one of our biggest fears, but it's actually one of the things that it creates the most growth.
Yeah. And
I realized that. I was like, yeah, that happens to me when I travel. I don't know. People go, you go to some country, I keep saying Copenhagen, but you go to some, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if they're going to laugh at your jokes, but it's the adventure of it is amazing. And you get through it, and you got to figure out where the gig is, and you're trying to get to a lot of times I purposely don't use MapQuest or whatever.
What's a MapQuest, Grandpa?
Or whatever it is. I'm just saying whatever they have over there. Ways. Yeah, I'm sure they're up to date. Like Thomas Guide.
Wow, the laminated ones.
Yeah. No, but I don't use the Waze and all that stuff because I feel like I kind of like to figure it out and like to figure out how do I get to where I go. It sharpens. Like it's kind of exciting, and I kind of now feel like career-wise, I feel like my career is going to be better that I'm not forcing some goal. Because sometimes a goal you set is actually limiting you. You could have actually gone beyond that. I learned that about.
Help me out. How?
Well,
in what way?
Okay. Well, when I used to run track, I'm just going to use this analogy. When I used to run track when I was in high school, and sort of like the movie.
Yeah, it worked out.
But I used to run track, and I would always just try to be faster than the guy next to me, and I would just always barely inch him out. But once I started not caring about who was around me and just try to run the fastest I could, my time increased exponentially. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I actually was faster than I thought I was when I wasn't just trying to just beat the guy next to me. I was actually way faster than I realized.
Damn, that's deep.
So I'm trying to do that with my life now, my career. Like where do I really intuitively or instinctively, where do I want to go and what do I, don't worry about, how much you're going to make or whatever, all this stuff. Just try to be the best you could be, best comedian. That'll happen to us with comedians. When you just try to be the best comedian you end up being funnier because a lot of times we're like, I want to be as funny as that guy or funnier than this person, or you get into this competition thing and you just got to be you because you're funny. You are funny in a different way than I'm funny. You know what I mean? I think if you were trying to be funnier than me, you would limit yourself.
I would.
No. I mean, I would even be like, "Come on, you could do better than that."
Don't limit yourself, player.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short.
I appreciate that, but that hit home for me. Because you're right. Because there's the good jealous and the bad jealous is still jealous. Like you have friends that are glowing up, or creative friends who glow up in their own different ways, and you don't necessarily want what they want because there's a different path. But you're like, yo, how come no one's blown me up yet? Come on, and you get to this whole thing as well. Damn, bro. Woo. I gotta walk. I gotta take a walk after that one. Think that out. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for being on the show, man. This has been one of my favorite interviews so far. Can you do me a favor and tell the world how they can follow you, find you, download your podcast, all that good stuff?
Oh yeah, almost everything I have is Rawle TV. So it's the spelling of my first name, and I just add TV and end of it, like television. Not just TV means television, but it just means like teleporting my vision. That sounds like I was high when that came out.
Yeah, it kind of does. But hey, look, man, it's cool.
No, but it's like Rawle TV is everywhere. Like Instagram Rawle and then TV and Instagram. Even my Facebook. What else am I on? MySpace.
What?
Yeah, I think it's just me and Tom right now.
I thought Tom retired. Tom peaced out.
Tom is he's not even there.
Out. MySpace.
No. But every social media thing, it's Rawle TV. You can find me, and if you DM me, I'll hit you back because I don't have that many fans, but I can't hit you back.
He will. It'll take like 3 or 4 days. We'll hit you back.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
I can't wait to have Rawle back on a future episode of New Amsterdam Radio. New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. It's about time we get out of here. I'll be back next time with more insights and more perspectives. But before I get out of here, though, I just want to say, if you have any desire to learn more about the show and other shows in the New Amsterdam Network, can't believe I'm saying that. It's so surreal. Check out newamsterdam.com. That's KDW. Amsterdam.com. So New Amsterdam with a K, and learn more about a lot of the shows that I get to host or produce in this weird digital only studio 2020 pandemic thing that I'm making happen. There's What's Up Flobo After Hours, the sister show to this one, where we have more of a casual environment. Flobo saw it on Netflix, where I get to chat critically about film and television properties that are exclusively on that Netflix platform. Review shows like Draped in Gold for wrestling or Commander's Log for Star Trek, and a lot of good gaming material there as far as my streaming as a video game e-caster. So newamsterdam.com, KNWAmsterdam.com. If you want to support the show, though, make sure you become a member of the boisterous crew at patreon.com/FlowboBoys. But enough of me rambling and shilling my products. I'm out of here. Until next time, the city is yours.